time, as we go through the questions, we may adjust that down just to make sure that we get through everything. But we thought that we would start with a more generous amount of time and see how it goes as we go through the forum. With us this evening are 5 candidates who are running for 3 seats on Town Council. All candidates were invited to this forum and are in attendance tonight. We thank you for your willingness to serve the residents of the town of Lexington. I would like to introduce the candidates in the order that they appear on the stage from left to right. Greg Brewer, Todd Carnes, Doug Leonard, Gavin Smith, and Ron Williams. All right, we are going to start with an opening statement. Remember, you will have 90 seconds, a minute and a half to provide your opening statement. If you exceed your time, I will interrupt you to stop you. To start this segment, we will begin with our candidate on the left, Mr. Greg Brewer.
Hey, everybody. Our community has had explosive growth for years. Our infrastructure has lagged. Roads, water quality, sewer reliability, safety for pedestrians and drivers. My family has been from this area since the 1700s. I was raised by my grandmother, Verdell Kuhn. She picked cotton for Walter Rall as a sharecropper. My mom died at an early age, so she took over. I got the great opportunity to go to Carolina and study engineering. After that, I was hired by GE, Siemens, and a few other companies and moved across the country, engaging some of the most complex infrastructure projects in the country, on time and on budget. So I've had this great opportunity that I want to bring back to fixing our problems, especially since now that I'm retired. I ran 2 years ago. I missed by 22 votes out of 1,000 something. So I'm running again, and I'm donating my pay. You can vote for where that goes. I'm also not taking the health care that's passed by the town council, because I just don't think that's appropriate. Beyond that, I'm here to serve. I want to make sure that we help fix the problems that there is 80 to 90% agreement on. Thank you.
Todd Carnes.
Thank you. My name is Todd Carnes, and I moved to this community back in the year 2000 with my wife, who's out in the audience with us tonight, and 2 daughters. We had another daughter, and so we came to this community 26 years ago, literally with 4 pieces of furniture and a U-Haul truck, $5,000, and a really old van, and had to start over. We had been doing missionary work and humanitarian aid work in Russia for 3 years. Putin got elected, canceled our visas, threw us out of the country, and so we came here with almost nothing. And this community did for me what it's done for thousands of others. It is a community of opportunity. It's a community that rewards hard work. It's a community that has a level playing field. And it's a community that's warm and inviting. And so we came here after a very difficult 3 years overseas, and we're able to start over. And I spent the last 26 years in this community working hard, trying to create and establish something for me and my family. We were blessed to partner with some friends and start a great church in this community, Radius Church. Been blessed to work in the realm of commerce with a great company, Southern Med Pediatrics. I created my own company, Todd Realty Partners. And this community has just been great to us. And everything we have, we owe it to the generosity, the prosperity, the goodness of the people in this community. And so back in 2014, I decided to give back to this community in a different way, ran for town council. And as a civil engineer myself, I've worked diligently on infrastructure, funding for transportation, the things that matter a lot in our community, and hope to continue that service in the future.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Doug Leonard, and I've actually been in Lexington since approximately 1964. And I picked corn for Walter P. Rall when I was 14. So I've seen a lot of changes. I've been blessed. I've been married to my wife, Susan, who's here for 40 years. We have 4 kids and 10 grandkids. Most of them live in and around the town. I've also been blessed to work for a number of Fortune 500 companies, Caterpillar, Pepsi, Mobil Oil, Southeastern Freight Lines. And really, my expertise has been in contract negotiations, process improvement, statistical process control, sales training, and training sales professionals in the U.S. For the last 22 years, I have owned my own real estate company called Karis Real Estate Group. Now, Karis Real Estate Group, we focus on citizens. We help citizens sell their home, and we help citizens buy homes. We do not do land development, and we do not work for builders. And I believe I'm running now because our town is at a critical moment. There are groups and even councilmen that want to push the town toward a progressive agenda. And you can guarantee that I will not allow that to happen. I will fight for traditional family values.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gavin Smith, and I am honored for the last 2 years to serve you on Lexington Town Council. For all my life when I grew up, I wanted to be a pediatric oncologist. I wanted to work for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, and I wanted to help children. I'd underscore the line, help. For the last 2 years, what I have done for this town is simply that. I have helped citizens. As a young student at the University of South Carolina, I quickly figured out, after taking organic chemistry, that I was not going to become a pediatric oncologist. It simply didn't click for me. But the last 2 years, citizen service, I've fulfilled more than 250 constituent service requests. I've participated in every interview request that I've been asked by the media, and I have worked very hard to support our small businesses. I've worked very hard to support our citizens' advanced traffic projects, more than $60 million of traffic improvement projects, and I have prioritized no one other than our citizens. This isn't about me, this is about you. So that's how I would conclude this evening, is I didn't come with prepared remarks. I'm going to speak from the heart, and I want you to know this. If elected, I will do nothing more than serve you each and every day, because it is about you, it is not about me.
Ron Williams.
Good evening, and thank you for those that put this debate on, and thank you for all of you that are attending tonight, and for those that are watching at home. We appreciate y'all taking the time to watch us. When I first ran for office, I told everybody I saw it as a job, and I saw it as an opportunity to continue to serve. For the past 15 years, I've served at Lexington Elementary School in multiple capacities, from helping the children catch up on their homework to mentoring students that were in very bad situations. I didn't have an agenda then, and I don't have one now. I simply want to serve the citizens because community service is what I've based my life on so far. I spend a lot of time and energy trying to be present in the town so that I'm available to the citizens, whether it's at the Ice House Amphitheater, whether it's at the market, whether it's by phone. My phone number's been out there since the day I was running for office. And I just don't think that you can do it any other way but to be present and to serve the town. I appreciate the opportunity to run again, and I'm running because I think we've accomplished a lot of good things in this town, and I think we have a lot of good things left to do, and there's always room for improvement. But with the road projects that we've completed, the road projects we still have left to come, I see a lot more moving forward for this town in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we will begin our first question with Todd Carnes. What specific skills and experiences do you possess that would make you an effective councilman?
Thank you. I would want to be careful about being self-congratulatory when you ask those kinds of questions. I do want to say, though, I just turned 56 years old. I did do a degree in civil engineering at the University of Alabama. I did work in that field for several years. And civil engineering, as you know, is all about roads and infrastructure and sewer projects. And so I do have some educational expertise in that arena, which is a big part of what happens on town council. Land planning, all of that is a part of my civil engineering education. And so education-wise, that's a big part of it. I think more important than that, though, is the 25 years that I've invested in this community in a wide variety of ways to really get to know it. I spent 15 years as a pastor in this community, some at Lexington Baptist Church, Then me and a friend planted Radius Church. And so during those times, I interacted with thousands of citizens and really got to know the community. And then more so than that, just in leadership. I was the leader of the GM of Southern Med Pediatrics for a while as we were expanding, and then I created a small business. And people forget that the town of Lexington is a $60 million business that has 185 employees. And so leading it is no small task. It requires some real leadership experience. And I've experienced that at a small business level, at a large business level, and in the public sector level. And so I think those things are helpful for me as I try to serve the citizens well.
Mr. Leonard?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. What specific skills and experiences do you possess that would make you an effective councilman?
Thanks. My background has been probably more diverse than 90% of the other people. I've literally worked for Caterpillar. I've been in nuclear facilities. I've been in water plants. I've been in sewage plants. I actually experienced in a lot of different industries. But also my background was statistical process control, process improvement. You know, I've learned how to, through Deming and through Six Sigma, to be able to make a process more efficient and eliminate waste, which I believe is something that we need to always be doing, especially at the town. And then my experiences in real estate. I understand contract negotiations. I've negotiated $1 million contracts, done it for years. I understand the importance of having a contract negotiated properly so that the citizens are taken care of, as well as communicating with all types of people on all different levels.
Mr. Smith?
Didn't realize he had turned the mic off. Well, thank you for the question. Simply, my answer is that when I was walking out of the Russell House as a senior at the University of South Carolina, I got a call that I never believed that I would get. And it's a call from a lady that was standing up President Trump's 2016 campaign here. And I was hired as one of the very first people to lead his campaign here. I carried that experience all the way to Washington, D.C. as a presidential appointee, leading communications for one of the largest government agencies as Deputy Communications Director at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I was responsible for managing communications for an agency whose budget is literally the size of the United Kingdom's economy. That was my responsibility. And I had the responsibility of managing more than 100 employees, so I bring that experience. But I also carry that over and say, when I left the administration, I started a small business, and that has been my heart here. Aside from the citizens, it's been serving our small businesses. I led the development of the town's Small Business Advisory Committee, where for the last the last year or so, we have had business leaders in the town of Lexington working to give our business owners a voice, because many do not live here in the town of Lexington. Those are two of the skills I bring. In addition, I'm a professor at the University of South Carolina, and that gives me the ability to bring young people into our local government as well. So many more skills, but those would be the ones that I would highlight this evening.
Mr. Williams?
It says sync fail, by the way. I don't know if there's something they need to do in the back to get that to work, but that's what it's saying. Thank you. Any of y'all ever taken 55 boys in the woods and brought them all back and for a whole weekend? So, you know, I have never forgotten that weekend trip with all those boys in the woods. My full-time job is at Mission Lexington, where we serve all the community of Lexington County in any kind of crisis, whether it's a Helene storm that comes through and a tree falls on somebody's house, whether it's all of a sudden somebody wants us to come pick up a full truckload of food. So I'm constantly being challenged with issues all day long at my current professional position. I've sold boats for 35 years in this town and surrounding area, and spent a lot of time on Lake Murray and enjoyed that time on the lake. To do that, I had to learn to negotiate and compromise. And I think that's part of the two biggest things you have to learn as a council member. We are not in a position where you can just come in and say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You have to come in and build a team of cohesive ideas that gets at least 4 council members. I've proven that I can do that over the last term, and I look forward to doing that again.
Mr. Brewer.
I can yell out. Thanks. Hey, so I think one of the obligations of leadership is to inspire. You haven't lived till you've been on the cheerleading squad at the University of South Carolina in a really tough season. When you have to get 85,000 fans up on their feet. But I think that what that built in me was also a determination. So when I was given an opportunity to run a Siemens business with about 300 people, maybe 325 million in revenue, I was about 36 years old, out of Atlanta. We had terrible problems because of acquisitions and integrations. The culture suffered. The performance was limited by the culture. And culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. And so that led me down a path to raise the bar on performance, and our Siemens business really gelled. An ex-GE boss hired me there. Later in life, I got the chance to run major projects. One was $1 billion in California with utility grid. We had a lot of points of disagreement about scope and how to skin the cat on that project. It included everything from cybersecurity to basic software deployments. And I've had to learn how to do startups where we can motivate teams that have never worked together before. So I think that facilitation skill and inspired leadership is a key factor in my background. Thanks. That's okay.
All right. Thank you for rolling with this. All right. We are moving on to question number 2, and Mr. Leonard will be the first to respond on this one. Public safety is important to this municipality. What are the biggest challenges facing public safety within the town of Lexington, and how should they be addressed?
Thanks. One of the biggest challenges that we have, according to the citizens that I've met with, is that EMS, fire, and police are having difficulty getting through the town because of the traffic problems. The traffic has gotten to the point to where their ability to respond is almost impossible. In fact, one of the citizens is a nurse, and she told me that it takes them 45 minutes to get an ambulance. So obviously, with all the congestion, we need to develop a plan on how we can do something short-term. 45 minutes when you're waiting on an ambulance or fire police is, that's a long time. So the impact that the traffic has had on public safety is one thing. The second thing is we got to make sure that we fully fund and make sure that Chief Green, who's doing a great job, by the way, has everything he needs for his staff and his team to do what they need to do and to continue to keep us safe.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Thank you for the question. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to Chief Green. I have right here the police department's annual report. They just put it out, and it highlights the excellent work that our police department is doing. If you haven't read it, go to the town's website. You can find it. It underscores the excellent work that our police department does. The one thing that I'd like to tout is that Chief Green and his officers, we were just named the safest city in South Carolina, and I think that's something to be proud of. So you can unequivocally know that if reelected, I will make sure that Chief Green has every resource that he needs to ensure that we continue to be the safest town in South Carolina. Now, on EMS and fire, we have one challenge related to the fire station off of Park Road. It's undergoing construction. I have reached out to the fire chief at Lexington County to ensure that we have quicker response times and trucks that are being stationed in the area so that they can respond quicker. And then in addition to our EMS, we do have an issue with EMS response times. Now, that is not managed by the town. However, what I would tell you is that the town of Lexington, we need to continue our work with the county to improve that. And that's why recently I led an effort to establish a working group between the town and county, and we are set to kick off that work in the coming weeks. This would obviously be one of those topics. Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Thank you. As Gavin said, we are rated, we found out during our annual work session that on our retreat that the town has been rated the #1 safest city in South Carolina. To that is because of the efforts of Chief Green, who has been with the town for an extraordinary amount of time. He leads a department that respects him to no end, and when he comes and asks for equipment, we typically just say, yes, sir. Case in point is, I believe that last night, in fact, we voted to give him a new safety system that he wanted, which is basically a barrier to protect us when we do parades and different functions in the town that they'll be able to roll out and set in place very easily. The main concern for me with public safety is really something that's out of council's control, that we are going to have to work with county council, and that's the delay that dispatch is taking. The system they're using, they're not just dispatching the town police, they're dispatching everybody for the entire county. So the response times, part of the lag in the response time is the delay that it is actually taking at the dispatch center. So I've already had some conversations with some of the county council members about it, and we're trying to find a solution that'll solve that problem for all services of public safety for the entire county.
Is it mine?
Mr. Brewer?
I look at safety on a few different levels. One is per individual, pedestrian versus driver, making sure we have safe roads and we have safe curbed sidewalks. I think it's a great thing to encourage walkability as long as it's safe. We have sidewalks where there is no break at all. We have open ditches, so internal in town, in the inner areas of town where people really desire to walk because they've told me they're a little afraid of it. The other thing is that I've worked a lot of years in emergency response and coordinated mutual aid or mutual assistance, as it calls. This is a very immature area that is getting some momentum as it pertains to county, as it pertains to municipalities, as it pertains to the utility grid, and state-level emergency management. So I've worked across those groups and those boundaries to have a coordinated response so that everyone is on the same sheet of music. Because there's a lot of chaos during emergency situations that need faster response. I've also met with some of the fire department people in looking at the way stations are placed and what are the best routes to solve problems. And sometimes that's a little different. I think it needs a fresh pair of eyes to look at that with the right personnel, but that's just based on their feedback. When I talk to the police department, I ask them, what would you fund? They tell me the biggest thing that isn't getting enough attention is child and human trafficking, and we want to protect people that are the most vulnerable. And I've gotten that straight from police officers here. Thanks.
Mr. Carnes?
Thank you. I would just add that that recently when our police department review came out, one thing that we certainly celebrated safest city as rated by SafeWise, but probably even more important was that our department was fully staffed. And if you look around the state, you look at county departments, things of that nature, to be fully staffed in these times is really difficult. State agencies hiring a lot of officers away, which goes back to speak to culture, that we have a solid culture in our PD, and it's working. And I would also like to say, you know, when we talk about being rated the safest city based on crime percentages and things like that, I want to give a lot of credit to our police department, but I also want to give a lot of credit to our citizens. Like a lot of the reason lot of the reason that we are such a safe community is because of the people that make up our community. Neighborhood watch groups, people that know their neighbors, people that walk their neighborhoods. And so there's a certain ethos to our community that makes it safe, and a lot of that is the reason we make big investments in public spaces and green spaces and places where people can congregate, get to know their neighbors, because when people get to know their neighbors, they take a lot better care of them. It makes for a great, cohesive, safe community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for bearing with us on the microphone difficulties. All right, question number 3 is going to start with Mr. Smith. All right, as you know, it is very important to balance economic growth while protecting the town's interests. Please describe any business regulations that need to change or those that should remain the same.
Thank you for the question. As I've been going door to door over the last 2 months or so, I've had a yellow card with me, and on that yellow card has been a QR code. And that QR code is exactly exhibitive of my service to the town. I don't just come up with ideas. I do not know where that feedback's coming from. I'm sorry. It is exhibitive of my service to the town. It is an exact way for citizens to give me their feedback. And the number one thing that I hear from citizens is reducing density in the town of Lexington. It's reducing density in future land use areas. I can tell you today that 85% of citizens support reducing density, so I think that's something that our town council has to continue looking at. It's going from 5 houses per acre to 4 houses per acre, but not just stopping there. I think additionally, we need to look at a true minimum lot size. I think additionally, we need to increase our green spaces. There is much that we could do on that, and I would encourage our council, whoever be elected, come December, take a good, hard look at that, because I can tell you, I've knocked over 1,500 doors so far, and nearly every single person, that's their number one priority in the town of Lexington, is growth and ensuring responsible development, and then second after that, it's traffic. Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
I have no clue. Emery, will you repeat the question, please?
To balance economic growth while protecting the town's interest, describe any business regulations that need to change or remain the same.
Okay. So one of the things that we have as a town is development that can happen where you have mixed use. You can have a few apartments, you can have some townhomes, you can have some shops, you might have a gas station on the corner. You can do all of those different things inside of a certain given piece of property if town council will approve it and change the zoning. You know, I think sometimes we have worked on trying to redo our comprehensive plan and have redone our comprehensive plan. And we spend a lot of time looking at regulation. So what probably the best thing I can tell you that happened in the last year is after we spent all that time looking at regulation, we looked at all of those public uses of property. We still had to go back and change it because after we wrote it, it didn't work in some instances, or it didn't fit what we wanted. So I think you're going to always have issues that you're going to have to address as a council. I think it's more importantly not what regulations do you need to change. It's when those regulations come up, are you willing to change and do things that make good, common, smart growth for the town?
Mr. Brewer, yeah. Thank you.
So I think 2 of the chief constraints on balanced growth and attracting businesses is associated with infrastructure and mindset. Organizations, whether they're government or their business, exist to create and serve customers to maximum. And so with that in mind, I think there needs to be a mindset of clear rules and friendly guidance, you know, being easy to do business with, high standards, but also not high hurdles. And I think that imbalance is really key. I also think depending upon the nature of business that we want to attract, I'm a big fan of entrepreneurship and bringing in people that want to do startups. And I'd like to see that encouraged in certain ways. That could result in creative incentivizing, I'm not sure. But I also want to see businesses, like if we're going to build a hotel in the center of Main Street, that it conforms to the historic nature of downtown Lexington. I had cautioned that maybe 4 stories was far too great. Maybe 3 stories, making sure that there's parking infrastructure to make sure that that is owned by the property owner and not burdened by people and taxes necessarily. It's all a point of negotiation, but I think the negotiations have to be held. Thanks.
Mr. Carnes?
Yes, I would just say to the point of business regulations and being business friendly, if you look at the trajectory of businesses in our town, it continues to hockey stick up and to the right. There's a lot of businesses that want to be in our town, and we're very blessed and fortunate in that way. We have great schools, we have a great community, we have a low crime community, we have great people here, and a lot of people want to relocate. We have a physician who just opened a startup off of Industrial Drive in the town. He's an entrepreneur. He came up with a better way to do a certain type of valve procedure, and he could have taken that to Silicon Valley, but he kept it here. And I myself have pulled a small business out of the ground from scratch, went and bought an old building that was crumbling on North Main and fixed it up and rejuvenated, went through the whole process of getting a business license and creating a business in the town. And so having been through that process and successfully navigated those waters, I feel like we are a business-friendly town, and we want that to increase, and we want a lot of small business. If you look at our Main Street, one thing I'm very proud of is over the last 10 years, as Main Street has developed, it's primarily locally owned businesses, locally owned restaurants, has a lot of character and a lot of flavor, and we will continue to do that in the future.
Mr. Leonard?
Thank you. As far as business, of course, I'm an entrepreneur. I've ran small businesses. I've started capital venture projects. And I think it's important that the council understands that the business people operate day in, day out in reality. And just like Councilman Smith said that he had the business meeting with all the businesses and all, well, I've been talking to those people after he met with them. And this is verbatim what they are saying. We met with the town, we gave them all our information, and we told them the number one issue was they're difficult to work with. And guess what? After the meeting, they're still difficult to work with. We cannot be difficult to work with. The town needs to make sure that our involvement is to the degree that we have to be, but we get out of the way and let the business owners run their business. The other part of that problem is I've gotten numerous complaints from town employees. You're not going to serve citizens if you're not giving your town employees merit and bonus raises, which they did not get last year. I would make a motion that we make sure they're paid retroactively. But council had the money to go to Hilton Head and play golf. Those types of decisions undermined the culture and the morale.
All right, I'll take a... No responses. Thank you. Take a breather while we play musical mics again. All right, the next question will be directed to Mr. Williams first. Many goals within the town's vision plan have been successfully achieved. How would you approach updating the plan to ensure the involvement of businesses and residents, and which projects do you think should be prioritized?
How about now? There we go. So we took action last night to actually create the next vision plan committee. I think it's important that we as council members don't create the vision plan. I think it's important that we get the community, whether it's small business owners, large business owners, some folks from the religious sector of the town, and folks that just live in town and don't operate in town. I think you need to get a full, comprehensive view of what they want. It's not what we want. It's what the citizens of the town wants to carry forward. It's just like our planning commission. Our planning commission decides what to pass and what to recommend to council, and then we vote based off of their recommendations. So a lot of things you see go on is actually given to the council to vote on by regular citizens of the town by their action of holding a meeting and voting. We've already done Virginia Hilton Park. We've already done the Old Mill Trail. We've already redone the Gibson Pond Park. I think one of the projects that might possibly happen is another park further out into the town. A lot of folks are enjoying the park that the county just opened on Old Chapin, and so possibly there's a park that could come out towards 378 and I-20.
How about now? Can y'all hear me? Hello? Testing? I've got a green light here. Okay, infrastructure gives the green light to realizing growth. I want to see Lexington better before bigger. Infrastructure, like I mentioned, is the chief constraint. I believe that residents should be very involved, no filter, in terms of organizing their feedback so that we really capture it, and there is great alignment. There's great alignment between the residents. When you talk to enough of them directly, they will tell you what they want and what they expect. The parks are great. I've lived across Napa, Balboa Park, the Public Garden in Boston. Great parks. I just think that the balance on the spend should be greater. I have put forth a framework that is entered in the public record as of 2024 on high, medium, and low spend, and translating that directly to resident value and giving them sufficient runway to evaluate it and understand what they really want. I think it's really chief to serving them as our customer. So I say this to you because sometimes there's a little bit of a balance problem on must-do versus nice-to-do spend. And I want to treat this like it's a business. Create, serve customers to maximum. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Can you repeat that question?
Many goals within the town's vision plan have been successfully achieved. How would you approach updating the plan to ensure involvement of businesses and residents, and which projects do you think should be prioritized?
Perfect. Yeah, I'm a big fan of if it's not broke, don't fix it. The original vision plan that was put together in the early 2000s by Mayor Halfacre and a lot of people that were on council back then, they envisioned some things like the Ice House Amphitheater, which is a premier venue throughout the entire Midlands. They envisioned the Old Mill Pond Walking Trail. They envisioned a lot of the downtown revitalization. And remember, they envisioned a lot of these things back when economic times were not great. And the way they did that is they put together focus groups. They went to the citizens. They heard from different sectors, and they took all that information. They spent a lot of time together to put it down on paper, to make it bite-sized chunks, came up with a financing plan, and executed. And we are the beneficiaries of all that. We are seeing all of that come out of the ground. People forget that in government, it takes a long time from vision to actually getting it out of the ground. And so we are going to embark on an update to that vision plan, and it would be premature to talk about what we're going to do. The only thing that it would be appropriate to say we're going to do is we're going to put together some great leaders from Lexington. We're going to put together some great focus groups. We're going to hear from the citizens, and we're going to move forward with what the taxpayers want to do. And hopefully we're just as successful 10 years from now, and people are looking back and saying that was a great vision, that it took a decade to pull out of the ground, but it's having great impact in our community the way it was earlier. Thank you.
Mr. Leonard?
Thank you. I think the revising and updating the vision plan is critical, but I also think we've got to step back and realize where we've come from. This town was founded by God-fearing families that had traditional family values, a dad and a mom, and they worked hard for years, and they have a vision as well. So when we talk about a committee to review vision plans, I think there should be members from some of the founding families involved in that process, because they definitely have seen the town go from nothing and have contributed a lot. In a lot of cases, they've donated the land for schools, they've donated lands for churches. So I believe that Citizens need to be on that committee, business owners need to be on that committee, chamber needs to be on that committee, and obviously founding families need to have some representation on that committee. I believe that's the right thing to do. Obviously, roads needs to be addressed, but also to take us to the next level for how downtown is to look and what it's to feel like.
Mr. Smith?
Would you repeat the question one more time?
Yes. Many goals within the town's vision plan have successfully achieved. How would you approach updating the plan to ensure the involvement of businesses and residents, and which projects do you think should be prioritized?
Thank you. So you can look directly at my record for this. 2 months after I was elected, I authored a agenda item on our council agenda. I believe it was the July or August council session, where I put an item on the agenda to establish the town's vision plan committee. We have now done that. However, right after I got elected, I realized that many of our town's vision plan projects had already been completed, and recognized the need for establishing the new committee so we can continue to move forward. So you can look to my record for that. Now, as far as how do we ensure that business owners are involved, how do we ensure everyone is involved, we've done exactly that. We will be involving members from the town's business community, members from our small business community, our small business advisory committee will be able to give feedback. Additionally, we'll have members from the faith community. We insisted that that was a part of the committee as well. And additionally, we'll have members from families around the community as well. We will make sure that there is representation from the varying stakeholder groups across the town to ensure that the updates to our vision plan are reflective of our communities. As far as projects that should be prioritized, I would say the #1 project that needs to be prioritized is traffic improvement projects. And then second to that is ensuring responsible development across our community to ensure that it doesn't impose on the small town feel of the town of Lexington. Thank you.
All right. For our next question, we're going to start back with Mr. Brewer, so we'll wait for the functioning microphone to make its way back down. All right. Okay, so are you ready for the next question? All right. Lexington is a growing, robust local economy. What strategies do you propose to attract diverse new businesses to the town while effectively balancing economic growth with preserving Lexington's small town feel?
You know, we've got to strike the right balance between Lexington's roots as a farming community with a view to the future. I want to honor that past. I think that I've said before already, small, medium businesses, entrepreneurship beats, frankly, national chains all day long. One of the areas that Keith Price, Superintendent Lexington 1, is keen on is my offer to donate my pay. And one of those is on the agribusiness track and the STEM track at Lexington Technology Center. It would be so rewarding to inspire people with good ideas that maybe don't want to go to college, but they want to stay right here and build jobs here that, frankly, I would like to see higher paying jobs than the ones that you get at a coffee drive-through. I think that is absolutely paramount, that we inspire that and people stay and they build that here home. I also think there's some incentives that can be done with bigger businesses, maybe technology, bigger firms, medium to larger firms as well. But I think that's something that's going to take some time and a coordinated effort. Infrastructure is the constraint. We need a strategy. We need a strategy that transcends the town to the other towns, to the counties, to the COG, to the state, to the federal, and get the money we need. And every day those politicians wake up, they get up with a burning desire in mind to make sure we get that done. It has to be part of every single work session, every single part of a meeting across the board of these bodies.
Thank you.
That's how I feel about that.
Mr. Carnes.
Anne Marie, can you please repeat that question?
I will. Lexington is a growing, robust local economy. What strategies do you propose to attract diverse new businesses to the town while effectively balancing economic growth with preserving Lexington's small town feel?
Perfect. Yeah, I think that the secret sauce of Lexington is some of the things that I discussed earlier. I mean, we do have great access to interstates. We do have access to the port. We are seeing massive industry come into the Midlands area, such as in the Northeast with Scout and what they're doing there. So there is a lot of momentum towards us, but our secret sauce is our community. The community that we have, the friendships we have, the neighborly attitudes that we have, that's what draws people to Lexington. It's what draws businesses here because they know that their employees are going to want to live here. And so business owners are very astute that way, and they want to plant their businesses in places where it's going to be easy to attract talent, to get people to come and live there. They're going to feel safe. They're going to feel secure about where their kids go to school. And so what we need to do at this point in time, there are certainly areas of the country that really struggle to attract new businesses and new industries. We're not there. We're at a place where a lot of people want to come to our town, and rightfully so. And the main thing we need to do is we need to protect our sense of community. We need to protect the things that make us special, our hospitality, our goodness, our kindness towards one another. And we need to protect the historical nature of our town and not be run over by big industry. And then that'll make us a business-friendly environment where a lot of entrepreneurs, like myself, like others, will pull small businesses out of the ground.
Thank you. Mr. Leonard.
Can you repeat it again?
Yes. Lexington is a growing, robust local economy. What strategies do you propose to attract diverse new businesses to the town while effectively balancing economic growth with preserving Lexington's small town feel?
Well, we're very blessed. We have a great town with sweet people, great charm, great character. But I think part of the challenge we have is we've been lying to ourselves for too long. Lexington is like an hourglass, and the neck of the hourglass is downtown. And to say that we have quick access to the interstate is laughable because the last time I tried to get on the interstate, I was sitting on 378. So we may have, from a mile perspective, it might be quick, but from a reality, it's not. And business owners deal in reality. The trick's not getting the business owner here. The trick is getting the business owner here and making sure that they're able to thrive and survive and increase their business. And the other part of that is you've got to have good employee morale at the town, and the town has got to be easy to work with for the business owners. I would create a position called a business concierge, and they would interface directly with the businesses and learn what their needs are, and then go to the town and say, hey, this is how can we make this work? We've got to be more active in getting this issue resolved. And the demand is there. Part of the problem, to be honest with you, we're the Chick-fil-A of towns, but we've been selling it like a Crystal Burger.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Doug, that is an excellent recommendation, establishing a concierge for businesses. It sounds like you got that from our Small Business Advisory Committee's recommendations in the first ever survey that the town of Lexington conducted of our business owners. And in fact, earlier you said that the town business owners don't like doing business in the town. However, the no, it's my time to talk. It is actually my time to talk, but thank you.
Talk to the audience, not to each other. Thank you.
80% of respondents to the town survey actually said that they would recommend doing business in the town. There are certainly areas that the town of Lexington could improve on, and I will agree with that every day. I own 2 small businesses. I've also tried to open another business in the town. But to allege that the town's not working with business owners, we have 10 business owners that sit on our Small Business Advisory Committee. That would beg to differ. Secondly, I would just say, in regards to the question, I think we need to do several things. We need to ensure to preserve the town's historic corridors and our town's small town feel. We need to ensure that we have responsible development standards. Secondly, we need to ensure that our small business owners are out being good ambassadors for the town, trying to bring other business owners here. Our Small Business Advisory Committee recommended that. There are many other things that we could do, and I'm so proud of our Small Business Advisory Committee who is working to help us in those areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams?
Thank you. I think we have to manage our growth by building things the best way and in the best area to help control our infrastructure. For case in point was storage units. I think everybody in here remembers when we seemed like every time we looked up, we were getting a building permit for a storage unit. Council took a quick look at that and said, okay, wait, this has got to stop. And what do we got to do? How do we fix this? How do we make it better for the town? And it was simple. We just modified our town zoning ordinances so that they couldn't be built in the heart of town. Murphy's Gas. I don't know how many of y'all see the Murphy's Gas right across from Rush's. They went to, I believe, over 6 different reviews. The last architectural review they were in, they told them they had to lower the canopy. The building had to be all brick. The columns had to be all brick. The sign out front had to be smaller. They said, we can't do that. And the architectural review committee said, well, then don't build it. After that building was built and open, they came back in and went to planning and said, hey, if we build the next one down at the old Ryans, just like we built the one at the corner, can we do it? It's the most expensive one we've ever built, but we want to do it again. So we just need to keep, as a town, and citizens that are involved in our committees that are willing to protect the town. And we also already have a business concierge. We have economic developer, Jack Stewart, and it's Jack's job to work with all these businesses that are trying to open in town.
Thank you. All right, our next question, we will start with Mr. Carnes. And this is everybody's favorite topic in Lexington, traffic. So we're going to talk traffic and congestion for a minute. How do you propose to fund and manage future infrastructure improvements?
Great question. When I was first elected to council in 2014, that was top of mind. And again, as a civil engineer, I studied what we called loads, roads, and commodes. We did a lot of traffic engineering back in the day, and we started to focus on that. And since that time, we have set aside over $60 million for traffic efficiency projects. What people don't understand is the roads that we are doing these projects on, we do not own. They're owned by the state. They're owned by DOT, Sunset Boulevard, Highway 1. And we have accomplished about $15 to $20 million worth of that work, but we have another 40 to 50 million that is already funded. It's funded through our hospitality tax. It's funded through some state grants. And those projects are right on the cusp of breaking ground. One will break ground in 26, the other will break ground in 27. Significant efficiencies will be added to the intersection of North Lake and Sunset Boulevard, as well as Corley Mill Road and Sunset Boulevard. Those will be massive projects taken on by us as a town, and that is unique to us. We took the initiative. We could have waited on DOT to do something about that, but DOT doesn't have the money. They don't have the resources, and so we took the initiative, and you will see massive traffic infrastructure projects rolling out over the next 2 years. And remember, those have been in the works for the last 10 years, and they will come to fruition over the next few years. Thank you.
Mr. Leonard?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. We're talking traffic and congestion. How do you propose to fund and manage future infrastructure improvements?
I definitely think we've got to work federal, state, county. We've got to Senator Scott and Senator Graham and say, hey, we have marks to help to get these roads back up. But can you hear me? Even as important as that, we've got to stop lying to citizens. I've had numerous citizens tell me they've been told by the town that they were going to pave their road. One of them said, I've been here 42 years and the town's told me they're going to pave my road. It's never happened. The other one said, I've been here 49 years. They told me they're going to pave my road. It's never happened. Another one said, I've been here 5 years. They told me they're going to pave my road. I met with town council, talked to so-and-so. He said he was going to pave my road. We got to quit lying to people and do what we say and keep our word. But we've got to continue to work for funding and make sure that we're getting as much as we can from all levels, federal, state, and county, and address, the other reality is, I dare say, and I'll ask the councilman, if I write a check right now to fix all the roads, deferred maintenance, fix capacity, do everything, what amount do I need to write the check for? Can anyone tell me? That's the problem.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. The first thing I'd say is you can't go to Washington, D.C. and get an earmark when there's no such thing as earmarks in the federal budget right now, so it's important to know that. Yeah, but Randy Halfacre was the mayor, 15 years ago? There are no earmarks in the Washington, D.C. budget right now. So second off, I think the first thing that we must do is recognize that no one sitting at this table running for council, no one on our existing council lifts their finger to do a road project. So the first thing we need to do is say thank you to the town staff, specifically Randy Edwards and his team, because without him, not a dang road project would happen in the town of Lexington. Second off, funding. I am currently working with the South Carolina State Legislature, 2 of our state legislators, working with them to bring additional funding to the town of Lexington next year for 2 road projects. So my record speaks for that. Third, as far as the paving project goes, Doug, I actually have the outline for our paving project. It actually kicked off today. So if anyone lives in the Lexington Heights neighborhood, we are in the process of paving your roads now, and that is coming to multiple neighborhoods throughout town, and that's a result of citizens that reached out, one of which reached out to me. We started with a $900,000 project. We took it from a $900,000 investment to a nearly $4 million investment for road resurfacing project in the town of Lexington. Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Yes, ma'am. Can you repeat the question one more time? A lot of interrupting going on.
Yes. We're talking traffic and congestion. How do you propose to fund and manage future infrastructure improvements?
Thank you. First, I'd say we continue the LTIP. There were a lot of folks that wanted us to do away with our impact fee that is part of the Lexington Traffic Improvement Plan. By using this plan, we have had $6.9 million approximately invested in the town of private funds. We can continue to manage the infrastructure with the LTIP somewhat, but we need some citizens' help with some of our senators. We actually had a day at Town Hall where Senator Graham, we all get a phone call. Senator Graham's coming. Can y'all all come up? Sure. I'll take a day off work and go up there. If he's going to come, we can get somewhere. Everybody had some conversation, and then it was brought up. We said, how can we get some money to fix some of our roads? And his response was, next question. So a council member alone cannot get his attention. We're going to have to get some community folks together and create an action group that wakes up those folks in Washington that says we want our money back in our towns. We just kicked off $4 million for our paved town roads, and we're spending $40 million on state and federal roads. We will continue to do that through the hospitality tax, and we will continue to do that through impact fees.
Step
Brewer.
1, do no further harm. We keep doing it, though. We keep doing it. There was a resident-led initiative to stop our town from being a tourist trap 2 years ago. That raised the ire of residents who are frustrated. They're frustrated then, they're frustrated now about the lack of prioritization and discipline around roads. $16 million for a convention center has been redirected back because of the resident pushback. Yeah, the politicians made the decision. We said give it back and redirect it, and that was done. But it shouldn't be such a filled with strife, struggle. It should be a no-brainer like a 2x4 upside your head. But we keep making the same mistakes. The build-out on Main Street that's coming, the considerations with the hotel, as well as the buildings across from St. Stephen's Church, in one of the worst intersections on East Butler and South Church. These are problem areas that have to be done thoughtfully, but we keep making the same mistakes. Virginia Hilton Park was $3 million and went to 7. It finished at 10 or above. And then the council is wringing its hands over what we're going to do about Randy Edwards' D and F category roads. He knows his business. There should have never been that. It should have been done in balance from the very beginning, but it's a mindset issue. and everyone knows about it, and the residents are frustrated about it. You talk to them, you spend hours like I have been talking to them, the frustrations still linger, but it's actually an easy
you.
choice.
Thank you. All right, we are moving on to our next question, and Mr. Leonard is going to be first up on this one. As you all know, town council members serve at large. How, as an at-large member, will you ensure that the priorities and concerns of all neighborhoods across the entire town are equally represented?
Well, I think the most important thing is to have a consistent communication with the citizens to make sure that you understand. You know, there's a book that Stephen Covey wrote years ago called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the first thing you want to do is you want to seek first to understand and then to be understood. So we have to understand what the citizens need, make sure we get a really good handle on that. And then we have to make sure that we're providing them what they need in order to be successful. And if they have concerns, we need to understand what those concerns are and address those concerns. So again, it goes back to making sure that there's nothing done that the citizens are not aware of, and it creates trust. You know, one of the biggest complaints I get from citizens now is they don't trust that the money's being spent where it needs to be spent. They don't trust. They see someone like Gavin who's all polished and all, but then they go online and they see where he wants to, you know, have LGBTQ taught to kindergartners and third graders. So they're like, well, is he the guy that's in the picture, or is he the guy that wants to teach my kindergartner that? So like, what's going on? The money with Virginia Hilton Park.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Mr. Smith, hold on just a minute. Let's just get the microphone on.
It should be on.
Okay. All right. I think it's on now.
So that was the one that works is not working? Oh, good. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Thank you. Yeah, let me repeat the question, Mr. Smith. All right. As you know, town council members serve at large. As an at-large member, how will you ensure that the priorities and concerns of all neighborhoods across the entire town are equally represented?
Let me just, can you hear me? All right, can we hear me now? Well, then I'll just start again by saying, bless your heart, Doug. I didn't realize that we were going to take it there, but I hope you feel good about yourself. I will pray for you tonight because you clearly need some prayer. So all that said, thank you, I'm speaking. Second off, let me be clear on my position. I don't support pushing an LGBTQ agenda in schools. I don't support transgender in schools. The only thing that we should be teaching in our schools is reading, writing, and the basics that we learn in grade school. That's it. That's it. I'm not, this is my time to speak. No.
Please refrain.
Yes. Now, let me answer the actual question here. Since being elected, I've done so much to engage the community. I'm sorry that I offend you by being polished, but I have really, that's funny, because 6,000 people subscribe monthly to my newsletter, where I deliver town information directly to the inboxes of citizens. I share information on how I vote, what the votes were, what information is on around town, what events are going on around town. Additionally, more than 75,000 people a month look at my Facebook and Instagram account. I work to make sure that I am very transparent. Lastly, as far as how I will engage citizens at large, I will continue to go to Hope Ferry Plantation, Wood Creek, Sterling Bridge, The Hill, anywhere in town where a citizen calls me, I will be there. Lastly, I propose establishing something called Tour of the Town, and that is exactly
you.
where we bring the council to your neighborhood. You don't have to come to us. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
Okay. Would you repeat the question?
Yes. As an at-large member of town council, what will you do to ensure that the priorities and concerns of all neighborhoods across the entire town are equally represented?
Thank you. I think you do that by showing up and answering phone calls and going to see folks that are in crisis or in need of a small thing, such as my trash can's broke, or someone that says the garbage company has run over my mailbox and won't fix it. I think you do those things by going to events all over the town, not just events that you like to be at. I think you go to the block party up on Hendrick Street every year, and you meet the citizens, and they have the opportunity to hear you. You go to the amphitheater. You go to the market. You go to committee meetings at town hall. You just have to find ways to engage yourself in the community so the community has an opportunity to talk to you. And you have to make yourself available. You can't hide your cell phone number. You can't not answer. You've got to return those calls when you have time. And I think that, I've never forgotten my first morning after I was elected, I got a phone call from the mayor. And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting ready to walk out of the door." She said, "Good. Meet me over here because we got to count flowers to make sure that the landscaper didn't cheat us on the number of flowers they're supposed to plant." So the very first morning at 7:15, we were counting flowers. And she even had my vest for me to put on.
Thank you. Mr. Well, pass.
Okay.
Mr. Brewer.
I grew up in organizations where incumbent leadership is driven to be rotated in and out to assure that there is a fresh rotation of new blood and new perspective. In the government world, that translates to term limits. Residents are asking a question: why is it that so many of these other municipalities in the county of Lexington have districted seats? This is not a news flash. There are many former council people that have asked for this to make sure that neighborhoods are not underrepresented or overlooked. The GIS guy gave me a picture of a circle around 50% of the town center of Lexington. Within that 50%, 7.5 square miles, not one current council member lives in that gap at all. It's 50%. It's a different life experience living around Hendrick Street and South Church, where people are racing down those roads without regard to speed limits while texting. It's a serious problem. These are our neighborhoods, but to everybody else, they're the pass-through. So I would say, yeah, we've got a problem. We ought to have districted seats. It makes it easier for new people to run, to afford to run. The filing fee in Lexington is $630. It's $25 and $35 in the other municipalities. Even Batesburg-Leesville has a districted seats. You got to fund that run across all of those at-large seats. It's not just the $630 you write out of your own pocket. Me being a fixed-income retiree, that's a big check. And I just
Thank you.
It would assure
Thank you.
much more representation and
Mr. Brewer,
balance.
thank you.
Think about it.
Thank you. Mr. Carnes?
Yes, so this has been a topic of conversation about at-large versus districts, and both scenarios have their positives and negatives. We have talked about this is a decision that should be made by the citizens. It should be made by referendum given to the citizens, and let citizens decide, because there are positives and negatives. If you look at some of the areas where there are district seats, you will find people there that get in one district and stay for a very long time. And so it's not always necessarily the thing that generates turnover. The good thing about being an at-large scenario is you're responsible to every citizen, and so you can't neglect any area of town. You have to be responsible for every area of town, every citizen. I've told people I'm not really biased one way or the other. I know the last 12 years I've served, I have been responsible for every citizen, and the at-large scenario has worked out. But we do strive to hear from everybody and to serve them well. And so if we do a referendum, the citizens can decide which way they would prefer to go on that particular issue. And moderator, can now that we got the mics working, can we shut down the chatter and the banner back and forth up here? I think that was the rules.
Yes.
And I've only
yes, sir,
heard two
thank you.
guys bannering up here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. I'll remind everybody that you are speaking to the audience and not to each other, and just limit your responses to your time. Thank you very much. All right, the next question, we're going to start with Mr. Smith. And this is kind of a long question, so y'all bear with me. What specific strategies would you implement to foster collaboration and communication with County Council, the General Assembly, and the Council of Governments to ensure Lexington's needs are considered?
Thank you for the question. I am very proud to say that just a few weeks ago, I worked to lead a collaborative effort to establish a committee of 3 members from County Council, 3 members from the town of Lexington, and 3 members from our school board. 3 members from our school board to foster collaboration between our bodies. We will look at topics from traffic and infrastructure all the way to how we can support one another on the good news items that are going on, whether it be the White Knoll River Bluff football game or whether it be a charity event that one of the entities is working with or on. We will continue to collaborate through that body, and that's the spirit of standing up that group. Secondly, I would say, as far as it relates to the Council of Governments, we are fortunate to have our former administrator, Britt Poole. He is over at the Council of Governments, and we have already had conversations with the Council of Governments. In fact, I spoke with someone there this morning about an issue. So I would say on collaboration, it is all about being willing to have conversations. I believe if you spoke with Mackenzie Flashnick from the school board, she would certainly tell you that I've gone through many efforts to be collaborative with her and members of the school board. If you spoke with Daryl Hudson or Beth Carrig over at County Council, they would certainly tell you the same. And I will continue to do that with other members, including members of the legislature and members of our federal delegation as well. Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Thank you. I think it all comes down to relationships. It's like I said earlier, you have to be able to negotiate and communicate and work with folks. And I think the best way to have those relationships in our area is to continually work with Paula and Chris and the folks that we see on a regular occasion at chamber events or town events. But we have to go a little further and be intentional on trying to build those relationships. I want to take this opportunity and thank the mayor. I mean, the mayor worked diligently with Chris to get the $16 million moved so that we could have that to finish I-20 and 378. It's those kinds of relationships and those kind of inner workings with the election delegation that you have to have as a council member. You have to respect them, they have to respect you, but you have to constantly be aware that you need them, and they have to be mindful of the fact that they also need us.
Mr. Brewer?
So to get to a unified front between these government bodies, there needs to be robust debate about the priorities and how resources should be mobilized. When the county was debating planning prerequisites called concurrency for ensuring that infrastructure services capacities were there, school capacity, EMS response times, et cetera, that was put in place as a great example of planning up front to make sure that there is broader context in the county. I worked with Develop Lexington County Responsibly, our Save Lexington SC team, and went to those work sessions and went to those meetings to make sure that our voice was unified, loud, and clear. It got those concurrency issues passed. Now there is some gaps between density and lot sizes, et cetera, between the muni and county. We want to remove the loopholes for this, and I've got put on the COG unanimously by the county council as a result of those efforts. But that's a very small sliver in tactical bureaucracy in the COG. It needs to be in concert with the state legislatures, the initiative that's going on at the State House with DOGE to look at waste and fraud and abuse. Director Powell of the DOT is looking at scrutinizing that to look for opportunities to free up dollars to get some of this coordinated effort done. It does take relationships. Our team has spent 2 years now as private citizens working across those with the county councils and even coordinating with some of the muni areas too.
Thank you.
It's going to take a lot more work.
Mr. Carnes?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes. What specific strategies would you implement to foster collaboration and communication with County Council, the General Assembly, and the Council of Governments to ensure Lexington's needs are considered?
Yeah, and I would say that it's all about relationships. It's all about putting in the time. There's some things that you can't microwave. Relationships are one of those things, and so you have to foster relationships with individuals on those bodies, and I feel like I've done that over the last 25 years. And you have to be intentional about what your needs are, and you have to move forward. As a matter of fact, I serve on the COG as well as Mr. Brewer here. We were actually both appointed about the same time, a little over a year ago. I've never seen Mr. Brewer at one of those meetings. I actually took the time to look at the attendance sheets, and Mr. Brewer has missed 45% of the COG meetings over the last 20 months. And 90% of the ones he attended by Zoom. I've been there 10 or 11 times now. I've never seen him personally there. So you really have to, you got to go. You got to show up. There's about 30 or 40 people on that board. You got to build relationships. It's across 5 counties. And that's where hundreds of millions of dollars flows through from the federal government to local jurisdictions. And so if you get appointed to something like that, you don't show up, it's really hard to mobilize the money.
Mr. Leonard?
Thank you. You know, I do agree it is about relationships, but the blessing of it is I've been here since 1964. So I know Daryl Hudson. I know Todd Cullum. I've known him for decades. I know Chris Wooten. I know tons of people around, and you have to develop those relationships. You have to be able to work collaboratively together, but you also have to be able to negotiate, because you've got to be able to make the case better than anybody else why we need the funding. But at the end of the day, you've got to develop those, you got to have events and times that you are with them to be able to develop that relationship and that rapport. They need to hear from us. They need to know me on a first name basis, and they need to know that I'm out looking for how I can make Lexington better.
Thank you. All right, we are moving on to Mr. Williams with the next question. This is another long one, so hang in there. Town Council recently implemented a Young Ambassadors program with the dual goals of allowing youth to have a voice and helping them learn about government operations while offering input to council leaders. What other innovative program or initiative would you suggest to enhance inclusivity and address a critical community need?
That group of students came in and actually made a presentation to council on their last day. If you take the time to go watch what they said and watch their faces as they made their presentation and what they got out of that as a student, I would, at that point, reflecting on that, I thought to myself, I wish we had some adults that had as much input and were willing to serve on some committees in town and to put this much thought into the process. Of all projects to pick, they picked grease and the water lines. Now, that is not a pretty subject. The pictures were not pretty, but they were passionate about it, and they put a lot of time and effort into it. And I think one of the things that we may need to look at is how do we, what other group can we start, create, and say, okay, here's what this group created, now we want you to enact it. Because those kids put a lot of time and energy, and they had a lot of great ideas. Somebody needs to follow through on another volunteer group that we could set up. I'm not sure what you'd call it, but just have them come in and actually start implementing the plan that was created by our student government, because those kids did a great job.
Thank you. I think there's another microphone coming.
Greg, this one.
Okay, I think it's a great idea. That's one of the reasons why I met with Keith Price, Superintendent of Lexington 1, in regards to donating my pay to the STEM and agribusiness tracks. I want to encourage any young person that has great ideas and they don't know what they can't do. They aren't limited and constrained like, well, sometimes maybe you can be as you get older. I want to address a couple of things here. Let me give you some inside scoop on the Council of Governments. It is a bureaucracy. The major decisions get made in executive session. You feel like you're just a fixture that's been put in there. I have had debriefs with Charlie Wessinger and Daryl Hudson after those COG meetings. Every question that I have asked so far, and I'm batting 1,000, I have gotten this answer. They were deploying a carbon initiative to reduce carbon footprint down Assembly Street for millions of dollars. So I simply asked, how are you going to prove that it was so? How are you going to prove that you reduced the carbon in those sensors? I got no answer. There is no answer. These are long runway projects. This is going to take years. This is not going to solve our problem overnight. That's why it's important that we have to have an urgency every day that's profound in every agenda, including back at what the DOJ is doing to identify fraud and waste so that maybe the spin can go faster. You weren't in those discussions.
Mr. Carnes?
Yeah, can you repeat that question?
Yes. Town Council recently implemented a Young Ambassadors program with the dual goals of allowing youth to have a voice and helping them learn about government operations while offering input to council leaders. What other innovative program or initiative would you suggest to enhance inclusivity and address a critical community need?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And just in reply, I am appointed to the Central Council of Governments, and I am there 90% of the time because as much as I wish I could recreate the whole universe into my image, the universe is what it is, and we have to work in a system. And I've never seen Greg there at any meeting. Moving forward, though, as far as the meetings that we are, the committees and the things that we have Planning Commission, we have a Board of Zoning Appeals, we have a Small Business Committee, we have a Vision Plan Committee, we have this Young Ambassador Program, we have the Traffic Committee. I don't think we need new initiatives so much as we just need the great people of Lexington to fill in to these existing structures, because I think a lot of people, I've led churches most of my life, and churches are led by volunteers, and they're led by volunteer teams and groups and getting your best people together so that the best ideas float to the top. And that's what we do as a town. When I first came on council, I didn't realize that was the way it worked, but all these are volunteer teams where you try to get your best people so that the best ideas float to the top. And so there's plenty of opportunity for these existing structures to bring some of the best people to the town of Lexington and make great decisions, because all of these committees have real authority and real power, real jurisdiction to make decisions for the good of our town.
Mr. Leonard?
Thanks. I think it's a great program. I think we should get the kids and the educators together and let them kind of brainstorm and develop what other programs they would enjoy. I've found over the years that the kids really have a good bead on what would be beneficial, and they'll come up with stuff that you never would have thought of. But some other programs that I've seen that have been successful is like an incubator for startup businesses. That may be something we want to look at. That might be a good idea. And also work with council for the day. They actually get to hang with you for the day and see what you do and the whole process. But I think the key thing is making sure that the kids and the educators are involved in developing that track, because they know what they need better than anybody else.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. So I'm proudly the youngest person ever elected to town council. I am proudly one of the loudest advocates for getting young people involved in our town. So first off, the vacation that we were alleged to take, those are actually the Municipal Association of South Carolina conferences. We go every year. I've been since I've been elected, and they've gone for many, many years before that. The Youth Advisory Council that we set up is actually an idea that came from the 2023 Municipal Association Conference. We sat through a breakout session on that. I went to the then mayor and now our current mayor and other members of council immediately and said, we need this in the town of Lexington. And you talk to those kids and they'll tell you how much they love it. Additionally, I've talked with those kids outside of their work at the town hall, and this is what they've told me. They'd like internships at the town where they can learn exactly how town hall works even more in depth. Forget the council. We're happy to meet with them, but the town staff who actually make it run every single day. Additionally, they did suggest some sort of small business initiative for small businesses starting up in the town by young people. I actually proposed that we could actually take our facade grant that we used to have and allocate those funds to a young business startup fund. I fully support that. And then lastly, the last thing that I heard from them is some sort of youth advisory council where when these young ambassadors leave us, they go on to an advisory council for a year to continue giving us advice.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen, we have made it to the last question. And so we're going to take it back to Mr. Brewer to answer first. All right. Is there a question or critical topic you wish we had addressed during this forum? If so, identify that area and briefly explain why it is essential for Lexington's future.
Just one?
Or whatever you can fit in 90 seconds.
Incumbents want you to believe that everything is peachy. Everything is great. But there is a gap with what residents want. Question, how many terms are enough? I'm running against two people that are seeking really their fourth term. How much time does it take? Can we move faster? Can we move with speed and urgency? Because residents feel the gap. You talk to enough of them and they'll tell you. That is a key question that I'd like to see answered. How many term limits are enough? We need to have new perspective, new urgency. The town needs to be run like a business. That's what I'd like to see. If I get on town council, the very first thing I'm going to do with the town administrator, Rachel, is to get a fine-tooth comb and understand the complete financial picture where I don't have to pay for FOIA requests out of my own pocket to get the insight.
Mr. Carnes?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Is there a question or critical topic you wish we had addressed during this forum? If so, identify that area and briefly explain why it is essential for Lexington's future.
I would say you did a pretty good job of hitting the primary areas and questions that are on people's mind. I don't know that I have anything in particular that I would add to that, but I would say in looking at the things we discussed, the next 4 years and Lexington's future, the big question on the table is what type of people do we need in leadership to maintain the culture, the community, the identity that we have here in Lexington? Everybody's coming here for a reason. We have something great. We want to protect it. It's going to grow, but we have to protect it. We have to have strategic growth, and we have to continue to build the right kind of community, the community where people are the safest in all of South Carolina, the type of community where economic opportunities abound for people like me when I came here in 2000 with nothing, with tons of opportunity and tons of great people to help me and my family along the way. And so I don't think we missed anything, but I think it's a critical decision this year, like every year, is everything rises and falls on leadership. And if you find the right leader, you'll find the right direction. You find the wrong leaders, you'll go in a bad direction. And so I entrust the people of Lexington to make good decisions.
Mr. Leonard?
Thank you. I think you did a great job on the questions. Two areas. First, As it is inconceivable to me to be on town council for 12 years and not be able to tell how much money is needed to fix deferred roads and capacity to make sure that people aren't sitting on the roads. All the while, you're making decisions on spending money, but you do not know what it will take. That's inconceivable. Secondly, transparency. Transparency is a huge problem that the citizens have. And one of the things that we need to do is we need to make sure that it's simple financial transparency. If you go to the website now, there's an accounting novel. And if you want to figure out how the money is spent, you have to do a forensic accounting. The citizens do not have the time to sit down and read that for 3 or 4 hours. There needs to be a very quick, weekly, or monthly at a minimum, report on here's the income, here's the debits. You know, everybody will say, well, the U.S. has a $31 trillion deficit. Ask anyone on this board, what's the deficit of town, or what's the surplus? No one tells you. The citizens need to know how their money is being spent.
Mr. Smith?
Yes. The first thing that I want to say is one of the first initiatives that I worked on when I got to town council is actually transparency. So I've got a printout of the town's transparency center that we actually set up. You can go to that right now, lexsc.gov. Is it perfect? It's not perfect, but none of us are. However, we do have a transparency center where you can go and get tons of information about the town, and I'm very proud of that. Second, to answer your question, as far as what topic have we not addressed, the topic that I would say, I mean, there's a few of them, but the one that I would say is parking. We haven't talked about parking downtown. Has anyone noticed that there is not a handicap parking spot on Main Street? That's a problem to me. We have many senior citizens in this community, and they don't have a handicap parking spot to park in. So that's a priority for me. Building a parking garage downtown is a priority for me. Now let me clarify. It is a parking garage that must blend in with the character of our community. It can't be a concrete box downtown, but there are ways to build a parking garage downtown that would blend in with the small town character of our community. So there are many topics that we could discuss this evening, but that's one of them that I'm very passionate about, and I hear it frequently at the thousands of doors that I've spent knocking on over the last couple of months and the last couple of years. Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Okay. Glad I got to go last this time. I had time to write this down for you. How do we best continue growth, keep fiscal responsibility, support the town staff to keep Lexington the great place to live, worship, work, and play? I think that wraps up what all we talked about tonight. However, to answer to answer Doug's question, there's no dollar amount that you can put on fixing the roads in Lexington. If you did, you'd simply be guessing because it's a constant change. We have estimates. We had timelines from DOT, and some of those projects have come back in after trying to get them in place and get them through DOT, which is nothing the town can do about that except keep working that relationship, that have doubled in cost. And one of our administrators, past administrators, once told me, he said, if you had $300 billion, I could spend it before we ever fixed all the roads, because the money cost of construction keeps changing on road work based on what the state and the federal government are doing with their road work. They take a lot of that away. So I appreciate your questions tonight. I think y'all did a great job trying to moderate this for us, and I appreciate y'all giving us the opportunity to speak.
All right, thank you. All right, it is time for our candidates to offer their closing statements. As a reminder, gentlemen, this will be a 1-minute statement, and we're going to go back down here and start with Mr. Brewer.
I believe that Lexington can be.
It's not on.
What do I have to do to this thing?
Push the button up.
You tricked me. I believe that Lexington can be one of the very best places to live in South Carolina, if not the country. I've lived in 17 towns and cities around the country, and I am so grateful to be back. I love Lexington. I walk the streets of Lexington almost every day. I walk to Wolf's Gym from my house. It's 3 miles round trip. I want the effort that I have to put in that and the hard work to reflect how hard the tax dollars our residents pay to go that far and be stretched that far on the things that really matter most. I think that robust debate assures that the very best ideas go forth to make us that best place in South Carolina. If you haven't gotten your questions answered, I'm going to be here afterwards to talk, and otherwise I've got my coffee session at 10 a.m. next Tuesday on my porch. Thanks.
Mr. Carnes?
Throughout my career, I've done a lot of hiring, and I hire by the 3 C's: character, capacity, and chemistry. Town of Lexington's about to make a big hire for a board of directors to run a $60 million business with 185 employees. And so the town of Lexington should first and foremost look for character. They should look for somebody that's honest, that's known for integrity, not self-proclaimed, but known in the community for that. They should look for somebody who has capacity. Are there things in their background that would indicate that they do know how to lead? They do know how to build consensus. They do know how to lead a large organization. And then finally, they should look for chemistry. Is this an individual that actually blends with our community? Is this somebody who knows our community? Is this somebody our community knows? Is this somebody who's going to build consensus in our community, or is this somebody who's just going to divide with crazy political attacks? People of Lexington need to make a decision based on character, capacity, and chemistry. And if they do that, we will all win. Thank you.
Mr. Leonard?
Thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everyone showing up and those that are watching online. My platform is about protecting traditional family values and making sure that the town of Lexington's character and charm remains the same for generations to come. And you know, you sit in a discussion like this, and the reality is that council currently have salesmen on it, because a salesman's role is to present things in its best possible light. No negatives, okay? You don't hear any of that. But a leader's role is to define reality, the good, the bad, the ugly, and then take that with the best information available and make a sound decision to benefit everyone. My family, and as I'm sure some of your families, have members that have fought and died for this country. And I believe that the Lord would have me serve the citizens of Lexington. And if that is what they want, a leader instead of a salesperson, I'm here, send me.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. I just want to take a moment to say thank you for coming out tonight. You didn't have to show up, but you decided to because you care about our community. If you take anything tonight from me, I want you to know one thing. I care about you, I care about your families, and I care about the town of Lexington. It will always be citizens first, no questions. In conclusion, I'll tell you that my priorities are road funding, traffic, parking, supporting our staff, supporting small businesses, and responding to citizens regardless of if they live in Hope Ferry Plantation, Wood Creek, On the Hill, any neighborhood in town, and also even if you live outside of the town limits. If you call me, I care, I will be there to support you, to help you, and I will stand with you until we see the job through. So I would be honored to have your support. If you'd like information about me, go to gavinforlexington.com, go to my social media, email me, gavin@gavinforlexington.com. Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Thank you. When I first ran, this was about community service for me, and it's still about community service. I don't think you can be a good council member if you don't care about the community you live in. I moved to Lexington in around 1985. I never went back home to Augusta, Georgia, because I love Lexington. I love the family feel. I love the friend feel. I go lots of places, and because of my service in the town with kids at school and coaching soccer and all those fun places, I get to see people all the time that know me. At age 60, guess what? I can't remember most of their names, but I still get to serve them and help them. I think that we're here to serve. I was raised by my grandmother that it's better to serve than be served. So I would like to continue my service to the town, and I believe that town is moving in the right direction, and we can continue to move this town in the right direction.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our forum. At this time, gentlemen, I would just like to extend a thank you to you for throwing your hat in the ring, and I'm going to paraphrase President Teddy Roosevelt in his Man in the Arena, who strives valiantly and dares greatly. And I just want to say it is a credit to you who know great enthusiasm, great devotion, and spend yourself in a worthy cause. Leading our community is a worthy cause. And on behalf of everyone here, I want to say thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. At this time, I would like to thank once again the sponsors of this event, the Chronicle, the League of Women Voters, and the Lexington Chamber of Commerce, and especially Angele, who really put a lot of work into this. Thank you all very much. And also, we'd like to thank the staff at Lexington School District 1 for assisting us with the event logistics. And most of all, you, the audience, for listening, and for anyone watching via Facebook, thank you for becoming a more informed voter for the November 4th, 2025 election. Good luck to you all, gentlemen.